Hello and
Did you
welcome
see the
back to
hole
Kingdom
where the
Come
prawn
Deliverance 2.
Don't
And in
even
the last
start.
episode,
The
we made
siege
our
has
way
been
to
going on for
Kuttenberg.
ages, and the city
And
walls
we
still
decided that we
haven't
are
been
going
prepared.
to step away from the main quest just for a short time here to try and do some quests in this Kuttenberg region, side quests and such. Now, I have looked, and there are quite a bit of side quests that are requiring me to do things like stealing and just generally being a bit of a nuisance. Um, and I think we've already done a little bit too much stealing in this playthrough, so I'm not really sure if I want to do that, because I'm sure that all of this crime and stuff is going to end up giving us a different ending, knowing Kingdom Come. So I'm a little worried about continuing to steal and everything, so we may skip some of those, and maybe we'll come back to them after the main quest is done. But we're going to go ahead and get started, and we will do some side quests. Oh yes, and before we do get going, we do have a couple of perks, but only two this time. One for drinking, and we are going to go with heavy duty, I believe, because when you're in the positive phase of drunkenness, you gradually gain up to a +4 bonus on your craftsmanship, so that may help us. It's the only one, really, that actually does anything useful for us. Like beer sating you isn't really that very good. And the +4 to thievery we're not going to use too much. The only thing I could see this being useful for is if we have quests that we need to pick some locks on. Wouldn't be too bad, but I'm just going to go with heavy duty for the craftsmanship skill if we are ever in the positive state of drunkenness, but probably still won't be that useful. The other one is marksmanship, and we have crippling shot, hell shot first, and Sagittarius. Now, crippling shot actually wouldn't be too bad just because it'll reduce their stamina, and that makes enemies certainly easier to pick off after you shoot them with a ranged weapon. House shot first will allow our first shot to do 15% more damage, and it will become active again after the end of the fight. And that's why I don't really want this one, because it's only really going to be useful in a situation where you have one enemy and then another enemy and then another enemy, like sort of like one after another close by, but not in the exact same fight. Like you can take one out and then another one later. That's the only situation I can really think of where this would be useful. So if you're in combat against multiple enemies, it's going to be kind of useless because you have to wait for the perk to actually end, and then you would be able to use it again. But it doesn't seem like, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. The perk will be active again after the end of the fight in which it took, yeah, so the whole fight has to end before you can get another first shot. So that makes this one kind of useless to me personally. And then Sagittarius is if you're in the saddle, the stamina depletion for aiming with a ranged weapon will be halved. This just kind of makes shooting from horseback a little less tedious. Gives you, longer to aim and make your shot, so we're going to go with that.
You said you needed some help with something. What's going on?
Something's happened. Oh, a real mess. And I need help from someone reliable.
What is it?
When I was fishing around for information about Liechtenstein, I cast the net a bit too wide. And one of the servant girls I questioned was just found dead.
You think she was killed because of you?
I don't know. If I did, I wouldn't be asking you for help.
I'll help you. Tell me all about it. Who was this dead girl?
Her name was Alice. She was an ordinary, pretty girl. She worked as a maid. I heard they found her all hacked up, tossed somewhere by the town wall. Oh, folk in town are saying it was absolute slaughter. They took the body to the morgue by the St. Peter and St. Paul cemetery.
I'll go take a look at her. See if I can find anything.
I think that would be for the best. Though, I don't think it'll be a very pretty sight. You can ask the gravedigger for details. He'll know the most.
When did you last see the girl?
Around a week ago?
And did you notice anything suspicious about her?
Not at all. She was always cheerful, lively. She was looking forward to a dance. Though I'm afraid she won't be dancing ever again.
What was Alice trying to find out for you?
She always brought me the freshest gossip overheard from her master. And lately, what the other maids in town were saying.
And did you learn anything important from her? Something someone would kill her for?
That's the thing. All she brought me was gossip. Who was cheating on who wasn't going to confession, those sorts of things. So you'll have to figure out the rest for yourself.
What about your other girls? Are they all right?
Yes, fortunately. I'm careful enough to keep them pretty much in the dark about my plans. That's why Alice's death shocked me so much.
What are you going to do next?
I'd like to ask the others if they noticed anything suspicious. If someone is following them and the like, but...
But you don't want to scare them.
I'm scared myself. For them. Maybe nobody knows about them yet. If someone was to follow me, I could give them away. And I can't risk that. I don't want anyone else to die because of me.
And what if I go and see them?
They don't know you, Henry. You'd only scare them. I'll figure something out. In the meantime, find out everything you can about Alice.
Do you think there could be something bigger behind the murder?
I don't know. Maybe she just got caught up in something. But it's strange. Why would someone do her like that? That's the kind of thing you do when you want to send someone a message.
Why did you ask me in particular for help?
Because you're the only one I know here.
Aha.
But don't take it the wrong way. I'm actually glad it's you. You're pretty reliable. Not even Zhishka would be of much help to me here.
Aha. Thanks. I know everything I need.
Good. Go to that graveyard, talk to the gravedigger, and take a look at that poor girl's body. In the meantime, I'll try to find out more. Then we'll put it all together, and I'll be damned if we can't come up with something.
So, let's see what we have here. My God! Someone really did a number on her. Oh, they ripped open her entire belly. And they didn't stop there. There must have been buckets of blood. Jesus Christ. There's hardly any blood left in her. The place they found her must look like a slaughterhouse. I should go there and take a look. Her lips are bloody, but nothing more. Tongue still in place. But if he killed her for blabbing, I reckon he'd have cut out her tongue or something, wouldn't he? These are more like chops than cuts. Somebody must have taken a sword to her. Knife wounds would be smaller, and an axe would have made a bigger mess. But it couldn't have been a long sword. That would have been clumsy. It was something shorter and nimbler. God, that madman cut off both her breasts and bits of flesh. But what did he do with it all afterwards? Did he really keep all the pieces? Nobody could be that sick, could they?
Why you?
Her face is a little bruised and cut, but nobody cut her there. But she has a dark ring around her neck. Was she strangled? The murderer must have had pretty strong hands, and her hair is all matted with blood and hacked off. I don't even know what colour it was. The murderer must have wanted her to suffer, so he started ripping her hair out. Sick bastard. Just some scratches and bruises, that's all. The killer probably surprised her. She didn't even have time to defend herself. So, the murderer must have awfully strong hands, because he strangled her and left a dark ring around her neck. Then he took a short sword or saber and started hacking at her. She's missing parts of her torso, but they aren't by the body. He also cut off most of her hair. He cut off her breasts, but left her tongue, then left her lying there for all to see. To send a message, maybe? Or a warning? Only if it was a warning for telltales, he would have cut out her tongue or something, wouldn't he? I don't know why he killed her, but I don't think it's because of Catherine.
Good day to you.
You must be the local gravedigger.
That's right. They call me František. At least them that can speak do.
I'm Henry.
Greetings, Henry. What do you need?
That dead girl you have in the morgue. Alice.
You've seen her? Poor thing. Who could have done such a thing?
Well, that's what I'm trying to find out. Do you know anything about her?
She's gone to meet her maker. What more do you want to know? You want to take away a piece of her? Well, you can't. Not a hair off her head, a bloody scrap of cloth, or a thumb. You hear?
I don't want to take anything. I need to find something out.
Like what exactly?
Who killed her?
Why?
Someone killed the poor girl. You can't just let the murderer get away with it, can you?
Well, what do you plan on doing about it?
Find out who did it and bring him to justice.
Well, if that's the way it is, and you really want to help them lasses, it's true that Lumiere ain't shown no interest in her yet. I wouldn't expect that from him no more.
Who's this Lumiere? Another one of those gawkers and collectors?
No, no. He actually tried to help.
Help? How?
Well, he was investigating them others.
Right. You said she wasn't the first.
Aye. We had a couple of similar cases. Lumiere said they was all killed by the same murderer.
And who is this Lumiere?
He used to work for the local bailiff. I think he knew the first one what was killed, but that was a long time ago.
Do you remember how many girls were killed?
You mean you don't know nothing about it? Here, even the sparrows are squawking about it.
I haven't been in Kuttenberg very long.
I see. There's been one every few weeks for the past year.
Do you know where the last one got killed?
I heard some talk about it when they brought her here. But what do you want to do there?
Look for clues. Footprints, blood, anything.
That can help you.
That's worth a try.
I heard she was killed by the town walls, close to the Hole in the Wall, a dodgy tavern in the Hoprink neighborhood.
Thanks. What's this Lumiere got to do with this?
Well, like I told you, he used to work for the bailiff. I think he was a scribe.
A scribe keeps records in the Black Chronicle, though I've never heard of one doing his own investigations.
Well, the old bailiff wasn't all that interested in the common folk. But Lumiere, he was quite helpful. Folk heard about it and went to him with whatever was troubling them.
I'd like to speak with Lumiere. Do you know where I can find him?
At his home in Bohemia Street, that's near the church. You won't find him at the bailiff's no more. I don't know exactly why, though. Seems he had some quarrel with the bailiff.
Thanks. You've been a big help.
It's my pleasure, especially helping someone from the land of the living again. Actually, wait a mo. Speaking of the living, there's a girl what comes here and grieves over that dead maid. I think her name is Barbara.
And do you know where I could find her?
She said she serves in one of the burgers' houses, so either there or in the morgue with that poor dead girl.
Thanks again, Master Gravedigger.
It was good to see you, my friend.
Are you Barbara? I'm told you knew Alice.
Alice. Aye, she was almost like a sister to me. We served together for years, in the same house. Why'd you ask? Who are you?
I'm trying to find out who did this to her. I'm afraid the killer might want to go after my friend as well.
Ah, I understand.
Who did you serve?
Our master is a local merchant. He is trying his hand at trading wine.
How did Alice get along with your master?
Fine. Just like with everyone. Our master is a bit strict, but he's fair.
What's his name? Can I speak to him?
Why? But you can't see him anyway. He's on a trade trip to Prague.
It occurred to me that maybe he could have done it.
He couldn't. He was gone when it happened. He hadn't been home in several weeks. And besides, why would he kill them others too? He never even knew them.
I heard about that. And also about Lumiere.
Well, if you're interested, go and see him. Maybe you'll catch him sober enough to talk sense.
Do you know of any suitors she might have had?
I know she was seeing someone. Why?
I'd like to talk to him as well.
But I don't know who it was. Alice said he was rich and dressed nicely. But she promised him she'd never tell anyone his name.
And you never saw him?
No, never. I don't even know where she met with him.
Do you know what exactly happened to Alice?
No, nobody saw or heard nothing. One day she just didn't come home. And then they found her, like this.
It's awful what they did to her.
She was such a pretty girl. And that beautiful brown hair of hers. And it didn't even leave that untouched. Who could have cut off her hair like that? And why? None of it makes sense.
So, I'll leave you to mourn in peace now. Lumir, do you hear me?
Oh, not so loud.
Oh, he's still completely wasted. Ah, nothing like a little hair of the dog that bit you.
More booze. Christ, I'm gonna puke.
Drink up. It'll make you feel better.
Better already. Wait, what? Who? What are you doing here? Who are you?
My name is Henry.
And what do you want from me?
I'm trying to find out who killed a certain girl. And I was sent to you.
To me? What for?
Are you Lumir from the Rat House? The scribe?
I used to be. Now I'm just Lumir the Madman.
They say that about you. Why?
Because I was just on some wild goose chase. And what came of it? Absolutely nothing.
But I need your help.
If I were you, lad, I'd leave it be. You can't help that girl anymore, anyway. You'll just end up hurting yourself.
Come now, Lumir.
Poor girls. Nobody was all that interested in it, except for me. We let it be in the end. We let a monster walk among us. No way. You can't solve this yourself.
I'm not doing it for myself. I'm afraid he might kill one of my friends.
A friend, eh? That's not good. Not good at all. I searched high and low. And what did I get out of it? Just mockery. What makes you think you can find out more than I did?
Because I know people, and can easily convince them. In the end, they spill their guts.
I can't say you were very convincing. I still don't see why I should help you.
Because I'm stubborn, and I don't have any other choice. I'll get to the truth no matter what.
You think that will suffice?
If not, I'd have been dead long ago. Bled out from a human arrow.
All right. Talk to me. Who was this dead girl?
Her name was Alice. She worked as a maid.
A maid? That fits. Yarka was a maid, too. As were most of the other victims. What did she look like? What did he do to her?
I think that he strangled her first, and then went at her with a longer blade and disemboweled her.
Did you notice the strangulation right away? It took me a while. Maybe you really will track him down.
Do you think it's the same murder?
Counting your girl, that makes 6 victims who were first strangled and then mutilated. If it's not all the same person, they must be collaborating somehow.
This is the 6th one. How long has he been killing?
Probably about a year now. Sometimes it takes him months, sometimes weeks. But I'm including missing girls. Stanya and Zdena.
Why are you counting the missing girls?
Because I think someone killed them, and we just haven't found them yet.
Did the dead girls have anything in common?
Aside from being pretty young girls with no proper family or background, no. I couldn't find much.
Do you think somebody is killing them because they're poor, and nobody will miss them?
Certainly. If somebody killed the daughter of a local lord, no stone would be left unturned.
But why does he even kill in the first place?
I don't know. Maybe he hates women. Damn it. I feel like I'm going in circles and can't get out.
What can you tell me about Yarka?
She wasn't the first. But thanks to her, people started taking an interest. She was a maid in a German family.
By all accounts, she was a pious, polite girl. She was orphaned as a child. The priest from the Church of St. Peter and Paul, Father Prokop, raised her. They found her body tossed behind a barn at the edge of town. She was cut all the way from her neck downwards. An awful sight to behold.
Did you have any suspects?
At first, I thought the son from that family did it. The murderer is usually someone close, you know. But then I changed my mind.
Why?
Well, for one, I remembered the two girls before her who ended up almost the same. Besides that, when I talked to the lad, he seemed he wasn't the least bit interested in Yarka. Then his mother told me that they threw her out a week before the murder because she was a harlot who stayed out till all hours of the night. That really surprised me, because Father Prokop had vouched for her good reputation. But who knows? Maybe he just didn't want to admit what had become of her.
What about Stanya?
She was an alehouse wench in a tavern of ill repute called the Hole in the Wall.
You said her body was never found. Maybe she just got out of town.
You have no idea how much I'd like to believe that. Only there was a lot of blood. Unfortunately, the investigation wasn't very successful. The Hole is a world of its own, and the people there aren't very forthcoming with information.
Did you suspect anybody?
You could suspect every second man there. Those people have nothing but thievery and deceit in their eyes. The innkeeper, Mole, definitely knew Stanya, since she worked for him. But he isn't all that chatty either.
So if I want to learn anything more, I have to ask this Mole? In the hole?
Yeah, he still runs the place.
And what about that Zdena? You said her body was never found.
Exactly. But to tell the truth, nobody spent much time looking for it. Besides Alice, Zdena was the most recent victim. It's only been a few weeks since she went missing, but I suppose nobody wanted to do any more digging.
But if her body was never found, how do you know she was killed?
Because she was the same type as the other girls. Maybe the prettiest of them all. Young, beautiful. A real live one. Lively as the devil. She was a thief. A pickpocket. I never could pin it on her, though. She always found some way to get out of it.
Maybe she robbed the wrong people and had to get out of town.
Maybe. She had a partner in crime by the name of Strunad. Quite a number. He's always sitting in the hole, boozing. When I asked him about Zdena, he told me he'd rather rip his own tongue out than talk.
Do you think he'd be more forthcoming with me?
He might be. You're not known all over town like a catchpole. It's worth a try. Besides, it might still be fresh in his memory. That would be a great help.
And what about the other two victims?
It all started with them, though nobody did much about it at the time. The first one worked as a bathhouse maid. They called her Chestnut. She'd only been in town for a short while, and nobody really knew her. So I couldn't find out anything more. But the other one, Libushka, she was from Loretz. She was a maidservant, too. I also talked to her mother. She said she was really cheerful and outgoing. There were lots of suitors circling around her, but she refused them all. She knew she was pretty and knew she could do better than some farmhand.
You mean she wanted someone higher up?
That's what it sounded like. But her mother never found out who she had her eye on.
Interesting. I'll try to see what else I can find out from the mother. Where can I find her?
In the graveyard, lad. The poor woman died of grief. It's sad to say, but we can't help those two dead girls now. And they can't help us with our investigation either. There's nobody else left who could tell us anything about them.
Why were you looking into it? Who were those dead girls to you?
I don't know what people told you about me, but for many long years I was a scribe for Kuttenberg's bailiff. Kuttenberg is a big city with a lot of people. Silver, silver, silver. Mining it, smelting it, stealing it. There's always something going on. The bailiff was always running from hell to Hades, from one rich man to another, settling their quarrels. Often trivial nonsense.
But there are more than just rich burghers and lords in the city.
Exactly. There are common folk, too. There's a lot more of them, and their troubles are usually more serious. So when one of them came to the bailiff's one time, and the bailiff was running around somewhere, I started to deal with it myself. I was pretty good at it, too.
Behind the bailiff's back?
Not really. Andreas supported my activities until recently.
What happened?
I don't want to talk about it. Sorry.
Did you have any suspects back then?
You can always find some suspect. I always dragged the most suspicious ones to the body in the morgue by force. And they threw up at the sight. Or fainted.
Couldn't it have just been an act?
Fainting? Vomiting? That's hard to act. I'd swear none of them did it.
Can you sum it all up for me?
We have 6 victims here. And I believe they were all murdered by the same killer. Unfortunately, we only know a little about the last 4. The most recent ones. By now, we won't learn anything about the first 2. Of the remaining 4, the first to be killed was the maidservant, Yarka. She was raised by Father Prokop from the Church of St. Peter and Paul. He should know the most about her. The next were Stanya and Zdena. Their bodies weren't found, but we assume they also became victims of the same murderer. They both hung around a tavern they called the Hole in the Wall. Stanya was an alehouse maid, and Zdena a pickpocket. And the last victim is Alice now, also a maid. What they all have in common is that they were young, beautiful, and brunette.
Good. I know everything I need to know.
When you learn something more, stop by and see me. You've aroused a bit of hope in me, lad. I hope you won't disappoint me.
What do you need, sir?
Did Estanya work here?
Stanya. Maybe. It depends on who's asking.
My name's Henry.
Names don't interest me. The main thing is whether it's a good guest or a bad guest asking. What kind of guest are you, Henry?
A bad guest.
So that means you're just going to badger me without even buying a drink. I don't tell nothing to fellas like that.
I know exactly what you want. Coin. Here you go. Enough?
Ask away then.
Did anybody see what actually happened when Stanya disappeared?
No, it was at night. Nobody saw or heard anything. The tavern tends to be empty at that hour. And you won't meet many people on the street, neither.
Tell me something else.
First, you'll have another beer. Or is it time to pay?
What?
If you want to ask, you have to drink. Didn't you get that?
You're quite the extortionist.
I prefer to be called an enterprising man of trade. So, what'll it be?
I'm getting tired of this. I'll give you the money up front, and that's all you'll get. Whether I'm a good guest or bad. Got it? Now you're gonna spill it. Got it?
All right, all right.
I want to know if Stanya worked here.
She did. And she don't know more. What's it to you?
Well, I heard she disappeared without a trace. So I'm trying to find out if anyone had anything to do with it.
It's possible. The chamber she was sleeping in here was totally ransacked. The door open. Everything emptied out. And Stanya was gone. All I found were bloody footprints.
What was Stanya like? What can you tell me about her?
A bold woman. One has to be here. Everyone's ballsy here unless you nib it in the bud right away. She was hanging around a bard for a while. I don't know how close they were, but she also had another suitor.
Someone from the city?
No, a charcoal burner. I heard he was from somewhere in the, Verchlitz Valley. I think his name was Barton?
What do you know about that bard?
What about him? He's a minstrel, a skirt chaser. What more can I say? He called himself William. As far as I know, he plays in the Miners' Tavern in the evenings. But sometimes he shows up here, too.
You think he might have been the one who...
Now that you mention it, he cleared out of town for a while and only came back not long ago. It could be him, all right. I know he met with some odd people and talked about God knows what, like bloody spies. Besides, you know what minstrels are like. Lasses just flock to them. And like they say, Opportunity makes the thief.
Or in this case, a murderer. Apart from those men, did anyone else know Stanya? I mean, more intimately.
Well, I got bad news for you. She had two close friends, but you won't get much out of either of them.
Why?
One was hit by a cart, even before Stanya disappeared. And she died. And the other one got married and moved away.
How did Stanya's room look?
The door was wide open. Most of her things were gone, but some remained. And there was blood all over the place.
Blood? Was there a lot?
Not so much, really. More like hand or footprints. But they were near everywhere. If someone done her in, they definitely didn't do it in that chamber.
Where can I find this Barton?
I already told you. In the Verchlitz Valley.
Could you be a bit more precise?
I don't know that bloke at all. All I know is he's a charcoal burner. So if I was you, I'd look somewhere around the charcoal kilns.
That's all I need to know. Are you Sternad? The one that went with Zdenna?
Who the fuck are you?
Just an ordinary bloke who has some questions.
Well then, piss off. You won't get any answers here. All you're gonna get here is a kick in the teeth.
Why so rash? That kind of attitude will do you no favours. Let's make a deal. You tell me everything you know about Zdenna, and I'll make sure you're no worse for wear.
Ah. You're the lord what that whore robbed. Don't worry about it. She weren't nothing but a lying bitch.
So, if I understand correctly, we can make a deal?
For the right price, I'll tell you all I know.
Is this the right price?
You fucking bet it is. Ask away and I'll tell you everything.
Where can I find Zdenna?
Aye. That's what I like to fucking know too. Last time I saw her... Well, that'd be back when she managed to fleece you.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to find her.
I can well imagine. Well, she went to Ravstein Mill. It's quite a long ways away. She had some unfinished business with some bloke called Pint. Ain't nobody seen her since then.
What can you tell me about Zdenna?
What do you want to hear? I try to keep her out of trouble, but there's just no helping some women.
So you were taking care of her?
Well, just in front of the others. Other than that, she did what she wanted. Always made her mind up and did things her own way.
So you weren't too fond of her?
Not really, no. But she did have a knack for making coin.
Did she have any friends or lovers who'd know more? Did anybody come here to see her?
Who come to see that bitch? She was always off somewhere, seeing someone. Although, once...
Someone came to see her?
Well, aye. Some stuffed frock came here once. All old and decrepit. He said he had some job for her. That she should leave behind her sinful life and all that shit. But he left empty-handed. She told him to go to hell.
Do you know who that priest was?
Some fucking Prokop or Pravoslav or some such shit. But that reminds me. I saw her a couple of times with another bastard. That fucking bard, William.
And could she have run away with this bard, William?
With that lily-livered fop? Well, he ain't been seen in town for some time, but I think someone was out to get him. He still don't come here no more. He plucks that loot of his in the miners' tavern. The wee shit.
What do you know about this priest?
Not much. Seems they knew each other from before, and he had some job for her somewhere, serving as a maid or something. But she weren't stupid. She told him to fuck right off.
And did he go?
Aye, indeed. He didn't look like the kind of fella that had knocked some sense into a woman. I think he just told her if she changed her mind to come and see him, or some shit like that.
And could she have changed her mind and gone to him? And that's why nobody's seen her?
No, no. She took off. I'm sure about that.
I've heard enough. I'm looking for someone named Stanya.
You're in a charcoal camp, fella. What would a woman be doing here?
But you know Stanya, don't you?
Aye. You could say that. Why?
I'm looking for the killer of a girl in town. And I heard that someone also tried to kill this Stanya.
That's true. She told me something like that. But that was a long time ago.
So you don't know what became of her?
I really don't know, mate. But even if I did know, how can I be sure you aren't that killer?
Lumir himself, the Kuttenberg bailiff's former scribe, gave me the task. He was looking into her disappearance, and he sent me to find her.
Well, I don't know. I remember Lumir. He was alright. That's all true, but...
But what? What are you still brooding over?
You seem like the right man for a job like that. Sorry, but after all that happened to Stanya, I like to be careful.
So Stanya is here?
Aye. She's hiding with us. Since that thing happened, she's afraid to even go outside. I don't know what to do with her anymore.
Can I speak to her?
If it'll help you. She's hiding in that cottage, but be nice to her. She's in a bad way. She used to be such a gutsy girl.
Who are you? How did you find me? If you came here to finish what you started, I'm not afraid of you. I'll claw your eyes out.
Don't be afraid. Barton told me where to find you.
Barton sent you to me. What do you want from me?
Lumir thought you were dead. I was supposed to find out what happened to you.
Lumir? From the rat house. He sent you.
Exactly. Someone killed a girl in Kuttenberg. Lumir thought it might be connected with you, so maybe you could help us find out who did it.
How can I help you when I haven't been in Kuttenberg since... I don't even know when.
You disappeared from the hole in the wall without saying goodbye. Without a word. What happened?
Someone attacked me when I was coming home from the baths one night. I managed to get away, but I was so afraid. I decided to run away from Kuttenberg.
Did you see who it was?
Not at all. I didn't see anything until he jumped out of the shadows and grabbed me around the neck. And he was terribly strong. I nearly blacked out right away.
And how did you manage to break free?
I had an empty pitcher in my hand, and I hit him with it. He howled and let me go, and I ran away.
Here? To the charcoal burners?
No, first to my room in the hole. But I was so scared there. I took what I could and ran. Here, to Barton.
And your lover? What did he say?
At first he was horrified, because I had cut myself on a shard from the pitcher and was all bloody. He's been hiding me here since then.
What was it like working in the hole?
Well, I earned a few groschen, that I did, but I often had to grit my teeth.
How so?
Every single day I had to put up with their lewd remarks. Rich or poor, everyone wants to grope a girl. People, well, us girls have to watch out. We can't just put up with it, and sometimes we have to be tough, especially in a place like the hole. But you can't overdo it either. That's no good.
How so?
Because if you smile at them nicely, then sometimes they leave a groschen, or even two. You have to keep a balance. To look friendly, but unavailable.
You said that rich or poor, they all like to grope girls. Like who?
Truth be told, the hole isn't exactly a good place for a rich man, but young von Groll used to go there for a while.
Is that so? Did he talk to you?
He smiled at me a lot, so I smiled back, but beyond a few groschen, there was nothing more to it. Then this thieving wench started hanging around him and... oh, it doesn't matter. But that servant of his didn't like it, tried to drive her away, and so the young lord stopped bringing him with him.
Von Grolla had a servant with him?
Aye, a pudgy fella, well-dressed, but had a mean face. He never said a word or smiled, or even said thank you.
You walked home from the baths at night?
What's so odd about that?
Well, at night, the baths are...
Ah, right. I went there after closing. I always brought the girls a pitcher of wine or ale and took a bath while they drank it.
Ah. So that's why you had the empty pitcher you hit him with?
Right. I went there regularly. Every week.
The same way every time?
Aye, always the same way.
the shortest one. I didn't want to stay out too long at night.
And who knew that you went by yourself to the baths?
Well, everyone from the tavern, I reckon. I didn't hide it.
Why didn't you go back to the hole?
Just to get murdered there? Are you mad? I'm never going back there. Not until they catch him.
How are you now?
I'm still awful scared. I can't fall asleep knowing that, and I can't even really leave the house.
Do you remember anything important about the attacker? What he looked like? What he was wearing?
I don't know anything. It was at night. He grabbed me from behind, and then I ran and never turned back.
And what about when you hit him? What did he do?
He let me go and cursed.
Aha, and what did he say?
He said Scheisse in German.
Couldn't it have been that innkeeper then? You yourself said he's a pig.
Aye, when he drinks, he turns into a total bastard. All lewd remarks and groping fingers. The lecher. Only when I got to my room, I could hear him snoring. It couldn't have been him.
Couldn't it have been Father Prokop?
Father Prokop? I don't know him.
Well, he's pretty old. He preaches in the Church of St. Peter and St. Paul.
I don't know him. And if he's an old man, how strong could his grip really be?
I heard William liked pretending to be a spy. Do you know anything about that?
Aye, I thought it pretty silly. A stupid trick to make himself seem more interesting. Though I reckon he's more likely to attract an ass-kicking than a woman.
Seems you're the only one to survive the killer's attack. I know it isn't easy for you to think about it, but try to remember something else about that moment, or when you were running away. Anything can help us, even if it seems insignificant.
I don't know. It's all like in a fog.
You were walking down the street. Did you notice anything before he attacked you?
No, nothing.
You didn't see anything or hear anything?
Actually, I knew the side street wasn't empty. I heard somebody talking, but when I looked, there was nobody there. So when somebody grabbed me, I completely froze.
Did you understand what they were talking about?
Not at all. But there were two voices. Two of them waiting for me there.
It's difficult, I understand. But I need you to think hard one more time. Aside from those voices and the empty street, what else do you remember?
I didn't hear him at all, and then he grabbed me.
And nothing else? Did he grab your hair?
Well, no. He grabbed me by the throat right away and squeezed. Just for a moment, but I still had a big bruise round my neck for weeks. Barton said the man must have had a terribly strong grip, like a miner or swordsman.
I reckon that'll be all.
I'm sorry I'm not able to help you more.
You don't need to apologise.
Thank you. Could I ask you for a favour?
If it's in my power.
When you catch that bastard, would you please let me know? So I can finally stop being afraid.
I'll stop by if I can.
Christ, take a bath. You look terrible.
Are you Pint?
I am. Why?
I'm looking for his Denner.
I don't know any Stenner.
Sternad said something different.
You're a friend of Sternard's, are you?
Actually, I don't really know him that well. But he's the only one I know who knew Denner. And he sent me to you.
Well, if he told you that, I reckon it's all right. He's not much of a traitorous rat, I reckon.
I wouldn't entirely count on that. So you knew Denner? Can you tell me something about her?
I know Stenner all right, but she ain't been here in some time. Why are you looking for her? What do you want from her?
I'm looking for a... Back in the city, they think she's either dead or run off somewhere. And you're the last person to see her before she went missing.
Kurva.
What can you tell me about Denner?
She always had it hard. She lost her parents and her home as a child. She had to learn to take care of herself.
And what about Sternad? How does he fit into this?
Sternard was her guardian angel, as she used to say. If she hadn't been thieving with him, she probably would have ended up a whore. But by sharing with him, she could do what she wanted.
Uh-huh. I'm surprised she stuck with him as long as she did.
That's because she had a hideout somewhere nearby. That's why she'd come to me with her loot, before they taxed her on the spot. And the last time she was here, she said one more haul like this, and she'll be able to go wherever she wanted. To Prague or Vienna.
I heard she wanted to sell you some valuables. Is that true?
Oh, aye. She had a good haul. No rubbish. Mostly jewelry, rings, one signet ring with a coat of arms and everything.
She left it all here. I paid her a pretty sum of coin. It was a good thing she had a basket with her. Otherwise, she couldn't have carried it all.
And what about that signet ring? Do you still have it?
She didn't sell me the ring. She wanted to keep it. Said it'd bring her luck someday.
Do you know what kind of luck she meant? Did you recognize the signet on the ring?
No, I didn't recognize that signet. But all the while, Dana was giggling to herself. I reckon she had her eye on another mark.
Where did she go next from here? You said she had a lot of coin on her.
That she did. She also had a feeling someone was following her. Someone on a horse.
Someone followed her on a horse from Kuttenberg. Did she say what he looked like?
She didn't. At first, she thought it was some wealthy lord out for a ride. But he held back. Never passed by her and...
And did you see him? Did he come all the way here?
No. But Zdenna thought he would show. She even left her scarf here and paid some girl to walk around with it to make it look like she was still here.
And then where'd she go?
She wanted to go the back way, through the woods, so nobody could follow her. Past the woods is a road and a ford across a stream. Next to it is a huge boulder. When it rains, the water can rise fast. The road goes on to Kuttenberg.
Well, if it leads back to the road and there was really someone following her, I reckon if they saw she was long in returning, they could have waited for her at the ford, no?
Fuck! That's quite possible. I made a point of looking, but I didn't see any riders that day, so I forgot about it.
Is Denna's scarf? Do you still have it?
Aye. I wanted to give it back to her the next time she came.
Will you give it to me? I'll try having my dog track her down.
All the same to me. Here you go. But it's been a long time. I don't know if it will help.
And could it have been Father Prokop following her?
What do I know? If he has a horse and fancy clothes. But why would he do it?
I heard he wanted to find her an honest job, but she wasn't interested.
I don't know. She didn't say nothing about that.
And could it have been William?
And who would that be?
He's this bard she was seeing.
I don't know about that. I don't remember her mentioning nobody by that name.
Well, I'll go and check out that fort. Maybe I'll find something there.
I hope you don't.
There has to be that ford Pike was talking about. We should take a look around here. This must be that basket of silver Zdenna was carrying with her. She wouldn't have just left that here, but where did it come from? Maybe it rolled down the hill? Oh, poor thing. She didn't get very far. Ugh, she's been lying here a long time. At first glance, this body isn't as mutilated as the others. Unfortunately, I can't tell if somebody strangled her like the others. She's been lying here too long for that, but her head is smashed in. Either the murderer hit her with a rock, or dashed her hard against the ground. She must have put up a fight. Or maybe he lost his patience. Oh, she's all stuck to her clothes. They're torn up, but I don't see any cuts. The rips are odd. Like someone was looking for something. Oh, I can't make much out by now, but it seems as if the fingers on her right hand are broken. Did the murderer torture her? Or was he trying to get something out of her hand? Oh, my God. Oh, something fell out of her. A signet ring. Oh, that must be the one she stole. How did it get inside her? Did she swallow it herself? Or did the murderer shove it in there? Was she trying to hide it? Or was it punishment for stealing? Well, that's enough. But what does it all mean? I'd say she put up a decent fight, and the killer had to improvise. And that's about all I can find out. She's probably been lying here a few weeks. But that ring is a good lead.
Good day to you. What brings you here?
Father, I need to ask you a few questions.
I don't have time for theological discussions, my son.
That's not why I'm here. My name's Henry, and I wanted to ask about the murder that happened recently. Someone killed and gutted a young maidservant and left her body lying by the city walls. And I hear it's not the first time this has happened.
Another one murdered. May the Lord grant her eternal rest. Why is it you ask?
I fear for my sister. She's also a maid.
Yes. Fear for those close to you is commendable. What would you like to hear?
One of the other victims was a girl named Yarka. But I reckon you know that, don't you? What can you tell me about her?
About Yarka? She was an ordinary girl. She served the von Grahl family.
Where did you know Yarka from?
I knew her since she was a little girl. Knew her family.
And?
I was her uncle. When my brother and his wife died, I took care of her.
Who do you think killed her?
William, that pig of Satan. He gambles in the tavern on All Saints' Day and leads the locals astray. Yarka always went there to listen to music.
Why do you think it was William? Do you have any evidence?
Evidence? He's a skirt chaser, a tool of Satan. He messes with poor girls' heads.
And does anyone else come to mind? No other man spoke with her?
No, absolutely not.
You raised her? A priest with a child?
Yes. Unfortunately, I'm not the first of the clergy to have a child on the side. But at least everyone knew Yarka wasn't my own daughter.
How does that even work? Did you have her with you at the presbytery?
When she was small, I could. But when she grew up, she had to go. It wouldn't look right.
No offense, but how did you know what to do? Without a wife, without a family? I would have been lost.
I was a bit, When she was smaller, it was fine, but when she grew up a bit, maybe I was too hard on her.
Why do you think you were too hard on her?
Yarka was an orphan, with no family and no possessions. Her only chance of a good life was a good upbringing. And then, a husband. But the more I led her in that direction, the more she resisted me.
You're well off, though. Couldn't you provide for her?
I couldn't. Even if she had been my very own. More so, since she was my brother's.
But how come?
The church's property always remains the church's. They keep a close eye on that.
How did she rebel against you?
She wouldn't listen. She ran away. She ran around with all sorts. And how did it turn out? She died. And in sin. Such a disgrace.
Disgrace? What the devil are you talking about?
She was pregnant! Even if she had lived, what then? Nobody would want to marry her anymore.
Why don't you respect Lumir?
That's my business. You needn't concern yourself about that. I won't tell you anything.
Come on, this is a really important matter. You can trust me.
That's just what a person I shouldn't trust would say.
Come now, Father. I'm not just asking out of curiosity. This is about all the dead girls. Isn't it written in Scripture Speak up for those who have no voice.
A layman quotes the Bible to me. Fine. Lumia accused me of her murder.
What?
Yes. He slandered me in public.
And how... What happened then?
It turned out he was deranged. How could he even think such a thing? He's finished in Kuttenberg.
I've heard enough, Father. I'll be going.
Son, I'll give you some good advice. Don't listen to Lumia. That man has gone completely mad.
It's William, right? I need to talk to you.
What is it? Do we know each other? Do I owe you money?
My name's Henry. And no, we don't know each other, and you don't owe me money. But we do have something in common. We have a lot of mutual friends.
What? What do you want of me? I don't have to talk to you.
Nobody else can help you.
Oh, the priest. How could I
You don't need to. I can go and chat with the guards instead. Tell them you're the one hurting those girls.
What? I don't have anything to do with any girls.
Seriously? Everybody knows about you.
That's not possible. I just came to town.
What?
Look, if you think you're going to pin something on me, you're out of luck. Leave me alone.
I found out some interesting things about those murders. Just like you said.
That's wonderful news. But wait a while. I promised Catherine we'd wait for her.
You know Catherine?
She came to see me soon after you did, and started asking me questions. Just like you.
Will you send for her? So, we're all here.
I hope nobody else shows up. How did it go?
I reckon I've found out all I can.
And do you know who the murderer is?
Not exactly, but I have a few ideas.
I've asked around a bit, and I have my own suspicions.
Is that so? See, I was trying to recall some more details, and I had someone come to mind as well.
I didn't do all this for nothing, did I?
Well,
Catherine, who do you suspect?
Well, I think it was that priest, Prokop.
That's nonsense. It couldn't have been him.
Couldn't have? Then who do you think it was?
It had to be William. Nobody else knew them all.
God, now you're talking nonsense. I'm sure William is innocent.
So I see we disagree. Too bad. We could have been done with it quickly.
Well, who do you think it was then?
I'm not entirely sure. First, I'll tell you what I found out, and then it might be easier for us.
Go on then. Starting with who?
Let's talk about Yarka, the one raised by Father Prokop.
What did you learn about her?
Prokop didn't just raise her out of the goodness of his heart. He was actually her uncle.
Really? But he still could have killed her.
His own relative?
Why not? He's a priest. I'm sure he knows the story of Cain and Abel.
Prokop also admitted that he didn't know how to handle her, and perhaps he was too strict.
What do you expect from a Bible thumper? Man punishes and God forgives. It never occurs to them that if man didn't punish, God wouldn't have to forgive.
Well, maybe I wouldn't hold it against him. He really tried to make sure she was well taken care of. He wanted to find her a husband, too.
And did you learn who he found?
No. I think it fell apart when Yarka started rebelling. Yarka started working for the von Groller family, where she remained until her death.
I was there to ask whether she'd given them any trouble, but they said she was always thorough and reliable.
Ah, so what's the story with von Grolls?
A very wealthy and important family. The mother is quite devout, known to spend a lot of time in prayer. Old von Groller's been sick for years. Can't even get out of bed.
So, who runs affairs?
That would be young Hendel. They say he's quite successful.
Before her death, I heard she often went to dances.
There's nothing wrong or surprising about that. But maybe she found someone there.
Maybe. Prokop was convinced that she went to see William. That was actually the only name he mentioned.
That doesn't mean anything.
It means she had some relationship with William, or at least knew him.
And now, most importantly, Yarka was pregnant when they killed her.
I didn't know that. Do you know for sure? So they gutted her?
To make it impossible to tell she was pregnant? I wouldn't be surprised.
May God forgive us.
Do you know who she was pregnant with? Because if we know who the father is, we'll likely know who the killer is.
She didn't tell Prokop.
It had to be someone from those dances. Maybe William.
Prokop is convinced that she was murdered by that bard, William.
And I agree with him. I heard the daughters of important men come to see him. It even went so far he had to flee the city. And the moment he's back, there's another murder.
Really? But I found out you accused Prokop first, Lumir.
What? Why?
It doesn't matter. It was a mistake, and I paid for it.
And were you as sure then as you are now about William?
I don't think so. But he's a skirt chaser. If he got Yarka pregnant, then...
Perhaps. But why would he kill and mutilate her? He could have just run away.
But then he could never come back.
Why not? He could come back a year later, once things have died down, the child would be born, the shame forgotten, and nobody would bring it up again.
I suppose that makes sense. That's all I was able to find out.
You still found out more than I did.
But it's not enough. We still don't know who the killer is.
But we can agree that she was killed because of her pregnancy, can't we?
Agreed. Somebody got rid of her to make sure nobody found out she was pregnant.
I'm sure William wanted...
William isn't the only man with a prick. And he certainly didn't use it to strangle her to death.
Such language. What are you trying to say?
That William isn't the only man in the city. It could have been anyone. And now we'll never find out.
I'm not saying it couldn't have been him. Though I don't think it was. It just seems foolish to only focus on him.
I suppose you're right. Let's forget it.
I managed to find Stanya.
Alive? You found her alive?
I did. Alive and well. Hiding with the charcoal burners.
So, she's not one of our victims?
She is. She just managed to escape the killer. She said she was attacked on her way home from the baths. She heard somebody talking in a side street, but it was empty. But when she walked by, someone grabbed her by the throat and started strangling her.
And how did she manage to get away?
She was holding an empty pitcher, and she smashed the killer in the face with it. He either got startled or hurt, but he let her go.
Did she get a look at him? Did she take his eye out or something?
No, she didn't stop to find out. Just ran. Which is probably why she survived.
And what about the blood in the bedroom?
She cut her hand on the broken pitcher. She didn't stay in her room for long. She was still so scared that she grabbed her things and ran off to her beloved charcoal burner. She said she returned from the baths in the evening regularly, and somebody knew exactly which way she would take and where to wait for her.
You mean someone followed her beforehand to figure out where to ambush her?
Who knew that she went to the baths?
Apparently everyone in the tavern. She didn't hide the fact. She also said she was sure it wasn't Mole. He may be a pig, but the evening she ran home, he was in bed snoring. Well, according to Stanya, the murderer had a terribly strong grip. Her neck was bruised for almost a month.
Doesn't almost every man have a strong grip?
Depending on what they take in hand every day. A tankard, a quill, or a hammer.
Except none of our suspects are miners or blacksmiths, eh? According to Stanya, the murderer didn't say a word the entire time.
That's strange, right? I'd expect him to at least call her a whore.
The only word he uttered was when she smashed him in the face with the pitcher. He said Scheisse.
So, we're looking for a German?
Even I say Scheiße sometimes, and I'm not German.
Besides that, she also recalled hearing two voices in the alley. Someone was talking to the killer.
So we have a witness. Now, just to find him.
Or an accomplice. If I remember correctly, the other one must have seen the whole thing, right? And he didn't go to report it.
I asked Stanya if she knew Prokop. She said no.
Maybe she just doesn't remember him. Or he gave a different name, or...
I don't think Father Prokop is the type to frequent the worst tavern in Kuttenberg.
Stanya admitted that she knows William. He flirted with her and tried to get to know her better, but nothing came of it.
And that's probably why I wanted to kill her. And likely rape her before that.
Well, perhaps, but Stanya doesn't think so. She's sure it wasn't William, and no matter what they say about him, in her eyes he's a good lad. And that's all that Stanya told me.
I'm so glad that girl is alive.
Me too. At least someone's had a little luck. Does she want to come back, or will she stay with the charcoal burners?
I don't think she'll come back. She's so scared now they'll come back for her, she doesn't even leave the house. I managed to find Zdena.
You found her? Is she alive too?
No. Unfortunately, she's dead.
And where did you find her?
Pretty far away. Near the mill she used to sell things at. Someone caught her in the forest when she was coming home with a load of coin and killed her. I reckon she put up a hell of a fight. So the killer got nervous and ended things quickly.
So he didn't strangle or mutilate her?
She'd been lying in the woods for a long time, so I couldn't really tell. But he definitely didn't hack her up like the others. Judging by what her accomplice said, she robbed someone good. She had so much jewelry on her, she could hardly carry it. And what's odd is when she was murdered, the killer left her basket of valuables behind.
So I reckon he didn't kill her for the money.
She said someone followed her on horseback from Kuttenberg. She tried to lose him, but apparently wasn't able to.
On horseback? I don't suppose she described him, did she?
Only as a wealthy type who never got too close.
That doesn't fit in with the previous murders.
Father Prokop came looking for Zdena and nearly cursed her on the spot.
What did he have in common with a thief?
He had also looked after her, but unlike Yarka, she ended up on the street, and he took it badly. My mouth is starting to hurt from all this blabbering.
So are my ears and head.
Come now, we're nearly there. We just need to find our suspect. So, Henry, who do you think did it?
I suspect one of the von Grollers.
What leads you to think that?
Are you sure it wasn't William?
Yarka was their maidservant until she started rebelling, right?
Yes. Do you think she was rebelling because of someone in particular?
Perhaps the young lord?
That's possible.
Alice had a young and wealthy suitor, and young von Groller fits both descriptions.
True.
We could be getting somewhere.
Yarka was pregnant, and if the father was young von Groller, it would make sense if he got rid of her.
Sakura, you're right.
But William could have fucked her too. Just saying.
Zdena was followed by someone on a horse. Von Groller could afford a horse.
That's not so sure, is it? And maybe the horse was stolen or borrowed.
But it certainly worsens the case for him. That much is true.
And that's all I can pin on him.
So, do we agree that it was young von Groll?
Well, old von Groller can't do much now, can he?
So do we really agree that our most likely suspect is young von Groller?
Aye. I agree.
I don't have a problem with it. Little rich boys are capable of anything. But what are we gonna do about it? Our suspicions aren't enough.
They'll just laugh at us without something more tangible.
So, you want to search their house?
There's nothing else we can do. There must be a clever way to do it.
We have to find some evidence. None of our conjecture is enough. What will we do?
You could sneak in there.
Or break in.
Catherine, that's not necessary. The young lad wants to learn swordsmanship, and the old one is sick and always calling for a physician.
So I can either pretend to be a sawbones, or a swordsman, or break in? That's a lot of options.
You're a clever lad. You'll figure it out.
Can I help you?
Is this the house of the von Grolle family?
Yes?
I've come on account of old von Grolle. I hear he's seriously ill, so I came to offer my services as a healer.
You aren't the first. Why do you think you might succeed?
I'm skilled in medicinal herbs and their healing effects.
Well, I don't know if I want to let some ordinary herbalist in to see the master.
Ordinary herbalist? I beg your pardon? What would apothecaries do without our herbs? How would they brew their decoctions? Monks in the oldest monasteries in Bohemia grow all kinds of medicinal plants.
That's true. I lived for quite some time in a monastery myself, and only the most experienced brothers took care of the herb garden there. My apologies. I shouldn't have doubted you.
That's all right. I expect you're concerned about your master's well-being.
Come inside. But before you begin your healing, speak to the mistress of the house. She can certainly tell you more about what ails the master.
I've come to treat your husband, ma'am.
Is that so? So Thaddeus has checked you out? Fine, then. Perhaps God will finally have mercy on Gotslin. You'll find him on the floor above, in the bedchamber to the left of the stairs. But I suppose you'll first want to learn a bit more about his illness?
Tell me all you know.
It's been a long time since Gotslin fell ill. At first, he just lost his strength and tired easily. Nobody thought it might be an illness yet. Not until the trembling came.
What trembling? Like with chills?
Not at all. At first, his hands started shaking. But over time, the shaking got worse. And he got it in his legs. And the stronger it was, the weaker my husband got. Nowadays, he can't even get out of bed. He can't talk properly either. So he spends most of his time alone. If he'd at least ask God for mercy. But that sinner is not even capable of that.
How long has he been ill, exactly?
It must be years now that he's been this bad. But his hands started to shake earlier than that. God only knows if it isn't from all that endless drinking of his.
You say he drank? Did he drink a lot?
Uncontrollably. But if only that was all.
What else? Did he eat too much meat?
Yes. Yes, a lot of meat.
But that's not all, is it?
That's none of your business. You came to treat him, not to hear his confession.
If I'm to treat him, then I have to know everything.
Fine then. But if I ever hear that you told anyone, I'll have you clapped in the stocks and have your tongue pulled out. My husband's a heathen and an unbeliever who fornicated with every other maid and wench. He even stooped to those fallen women in the baths. Men are prone to that. I know all about that. Like father, like son. And I won't permit this demon seed to take my son too.
I'll cure your husband.
I don't know. In my opinion, you'll be wasting your effort with Gotslin. He's beyond help. It's natural and just that God punished him. But not even the greatest sinner deserves to suffer so long. So I hope you'll at least be able to relieve his pain.
What else is bothering him, besides the trembling?
I don't really like talking about it, but he can't defecate properly.
And how is his stool when he does defecate?
Check it yourself. You're the physician here.
What does he get to eat now? If he's constipated, that might have something to do with it.
The cook prepares his meals. You can ask her.
Do you have any idea what caused his illness?
Am I a physician? Find out yourself.
Well, you might have some idea. Was he injured in the past? Did he lead an unhealthy life? You'll know more about these things than me.
I don't know about any old injuries, but Gotslin never lived in moderation. He drank a lot, and he burdened his soul in other ways as well.
I'll go and take a look at him.
How come it's open? I closed that door. Everything's there. Nothing's missing.
What the hell? That's hair. All kinds of brown. I bet it belonged to those dead girls. If this isn't proof, nothing is. I need to discuss that visit to the Von Grollers.
Excellent. Let's find Catherine. You can tell us everything.
I think we were right. Something seriously fishy there.
Well, don't keep us in suspense. What did you find out?
You found something there, didn't you? Evidence?
I certainly did. In the young lord's room.
What was it?
This. He had it in a chest in his room. Locks of hair. All brown, but all a bit different. They're definitely from those murdered girls.
Hair? But that's not enough. That definitely won't suffice as proof.
Why wouldn't it? He took them as a keepsake from the dead girls, as a trophy. It was him!
But nobody will believe us. We need more than just hair. A bloody dress or the murder weapon.
And to be honest, I don't think we're going to find anything like that. They're pretty careful to cover their tracks.
Damn it. We're fucked. If we at least had a witness.
And what about 3 witnesses at once?
Where are you going to find 3 witnesses when you don't even have one?
I don't yet, but... Look, we're almost certain young Hendel did it. So what if we set a trap and catch him in the act?
And how do you want to do that? I mean, we don't know who he's planning to murder next.
We'll set someone up. Some brunette.
You want to sacrifice some poor girl?
No, nobody's going to get hurt. We'll be keeping our eye on her the whole time.
The only one I can think of is Stanya. And I highly doubt that she'd want to risk her life again.
She won't have to. I'll do it.
But you haven't had anything to do with him. He'll see through it immediately. It'll fail.
We'll wait until the lad's out of the house. Maybe we'll dress Catherine up a bit, and she'll go asking for the young lord, father of her child. When Hendel comes home and hears what happened, he'll come looking for her to fix things up.
I'll cause such a scene, they'll be talking about it for years. Then we'll tell them where he can find me, and we've got him.
If you say so. But where can we do it? We can't do it here. They'd figure it out pretty quick.
We can use one of the rooms here in the tavern. It has only one way out. You'll be hiding across the way, and jump out at the right moment. I repeat, at the right moment.
Don't worry, we won't take our eyes off you.
Where's Hendel? I need to talk to him! Do you hear me? I have to talk to him about our wedding. I won't be left alone with his child.
What are you screeching about, you ninny? There's no Hendel here. Certainly not for the likes of you.
Do you hear that, folks? He fucks me from all sides. Gets me with child, and now he doesn't want to know me. Get rid of her. Disgrace. Oh, so a poor woman has to suffer because of a man's lust. As if it wasn't already bad enough before.
What lies are you spouting, you strumpet? Goodman Hendel never laid eyes on you. Besides, you're too old for him. Nobody will believe your lies.
Old am I? He came to me himself because he wanted a mature woman to breed with. And he never even pulled it out. And he filled me up like a wineskin. Suit yourself. I'll give you some time to think it over. But either you come up with an offer of marriage by evening, or first thing in the morning I'll go to the bailiff. And I'll be damn sure to get justice from him. It's open.
I've come to talk with you.
Where's Hendel?
Hendel?
You wanton whore! Debauching my son! A nanny goat like you! The others were at least young, but you! Oh, Christ, the trials I have to endure! A husband with both feet in the grave and a son who'll fuck anything with a hole in it. Slice her up so no one will recognize her, and in case what she says is true, gut her too.
Gutting, is it? I can help you with that.
Get that bitch, you fool!
Got you! Oh.
Before I finish you off, I have to ask, why the fuck did you kill them?
I'll tell you. But you aren't going to like it.
I'm listening.
Because it's the right thing to do.
What's right about murder?
All those whores had it coming.
You know that's not true. Stan you hardly knew Hendel, and you still tried to kill her. How many of the others had the same story?
Rubbish. I saw it with my own 2 eyes, and not just me. He might have met the alehouse wench by chance, but they were intimate together. The mistress was convinced they were meeting in the evenings.
Well, she might have been convinced, but that doesn't mean she was right. That girl had a sweetheart.
That's even worse. He surely wasn't a rich and important person like Master Hendel, and she would even cheat on our master with him? Disgusting.
Confess, then. How many of them did you kill altogether?
Not enough! There's always more who deserve it. They climb out of their holes like rats and infect respectable families. Just like that companion of yours. She certainly sins as much as she breathes, the lured whore.
Oh, you're completely mad. My God.
Don't take the Lord's name in vain. It's a deadly sin.
Then I suppose we'll be meeting in hell one day. It was all Mandalina's idea, wasn't it? She wanted them killed.
And can you blame her? That first harlot was already itching to become Mistress von Grole. That bastard of hers wasn't Hendel's anyway, but he was stupid that time. He'd have believed her. Now he knows very well, luckily, that they're all whores. He doesn't cry for them anymore.
And Mandalina just came to you like that, out of the blue. And you immediately obeyed her?
Well, one time she came to my chambers and she told me she knew very well that Yarka rejected me and that she'd started an affair with Master Hendel, while she was also spreading her legs for others in the evenings. And that she had to be punished before she brought misfortune on someone. And...
Go on. I'm listening.
That she deserved to die for all her sins. And she was right.
Don't worry. I'm not going to kill you. I'll hand you over to the city law.
I'm not worried, I'll have you know. My conscience is clear. They were all nobodies anyways. The bailiff should thank me for cleansing his city of them.
Shut your mouth already. Don't make me regret my decision. Catherine, wait.
What should I wait for? I'm gonna cut that bitch's throat.
How dare you? Hands off, you heretical scum.
Shut up.
Let her speak. I still don't understand what actually went on here. I have some questions for you.
I'll tell you nothing, you serpent. Nothing. You can't keep me here. Let me go. I'm a woman of worth.
If you won't speak now, then the executioner will loosen your tongue when your feet start burning. But why wait, right? I'll cut your ear off. Maybe both of them. All you need to talk is a tongue.
No! Let me go!
Why did you do it, for Christ's sake?
Don't blaspheme, you heathen.
Come on, answer him or it's gonna hurt.
My husband. He drank a lot, ran around with whores, and didn't pray enough. And God punished him for it. I couldn't allow the same thing to happen to Hendel.
And why kill those girls? Why not just talk to him about it?
I tried, but he wouldn't listen to me. He told me he wanted to sow his wild oats before finding a wife.
So your own son didn't listen to you? And you started killing the girls
who seduced him and emboldened him with their brazenness? If they wanted to whore themselves out, they'll pay for it in hell. But there's no way they were going to drag my Hendel there with them.
And what about Hendel? Did he know what you were doing?
That I was taking care of his immortal soul and eliminating his temptation? Of course not. But one day he'll be grateful to me for it.
He's going to jump for joy. His mother a mad woman, and his servant a murderer.
Speak politely to me, you whore.
Henry, if you have any more questions, you'd better ask them quickly. I'm sorely tempted to finish this here and now.
And what about the hair in Hendel's chest? You're trying to tell me he wasn't involved, but he was keeping their hair?
Well, he kept asking about those whores of his. So we always brought him a lock of hair. We told him it was from them, as a parting gift.
Well, he didn't find that strange?
Out of sight, out of mind. He always found some new harlot anyway.
There was no blood where Alice was found. Where did you kill them?
That was up to Thaddeus. He told me something about an abandoned barn. I only told him to cut them up thoroughly.
Why?
Why? As a warning. So those whores knew what awaited them. To put the fear of God in them.
Do you realize you also killed girls who had nothing to do with Hendel?
That's not possible. I saw them all with my own 2 eyes, chatting with him and giggling.
And what about that alehouse wench?
That strumpet. I saw how she treated him. It's a damned shame she got away.
But she really had nothing to do with Hendel.
She wouldn't have smiled at him the way she did if she didn't want to fornicate with him. They all deserved it. Every single one. And better sooner than later. That trollop in our service even got herself with child. And she wanted to keep it. The slut.
And what about Zdenna? All she did was rob him, and you killed her anyway.
She fawned over him like all the others. He even gave her a ring, which she probably sold immediately. She deserved it. She was a thief, and stealing is a mortal sin.
I'd better stop asking questions.
Burn in hell, all of you.
What'll we do with her now?
Let's take her to the bailiff. She'll get justice there.
We don't have to go anywhere. I'll give her justice right here, right now.
But we can't do that. She has to go before the court. The law must be upheld.
Did you hear her? I mean, she hasn't got her head on straight. And what judgment will there be? She's from a wealthy family. Nothing will happen to her.
Don't you dare judge me. Only God can do that.
Shut your mouth, you sow. You judged and punished some random girls, and now you'll blaspheme like that?
Our Lord directed me. I did it through His will.
Do you hear that? And you want to let her live?
But that's not justice. It's murder. Henry, won't you say something?
I told you, don't you dare judge me. I am a servant of God.
Lumiere, listen to her. If we don't deal with her ourselves, and then they let her go, then... Do you want to have that on your conscience?
But, I mean... How could I live with myself if we kill her in cold blood?
I'll show you justice. You're all going to end up in hell.
Your conscience will remain clear. You won't be the one killing her.
But still, if we don't punish her according to the law, then we ourselves deserve to be punished by the law.
Huh. We aren't the ones walking around the city killing random women. On the contrary, we're making sure no more will die.
All those whores! Hell! Lucifer everywhere! Fire and brimstone!
It's just not right.
It isn't right, but it's necessary.
All right, all right. Do it then. but I wash my hands of it.
No! Don't you dare! You hellspawn! No!
Well, now, someone has to explain everything.
Not me. I'd rather just get out of here.
I'll go. I'll explain everything. And you, Henry, wait for me at home, all right?
Fine. I'll wait at yours.
Good, good. I hope I don't end up in total disgrace.
Well, this was a lot stranger than I expected. Do you think we did the right thing?
I'm not sure of anything anymore. Not even myself. Can we just be quiet for a while?
As you wish. But still, it was damned odd.
Aye, that it was. Let's go and see Lumia. I wonder how he fared.
Tell us, Lumir. How did it turn out?
Did it end well? Oh, we're not going to get into trouble now, are we?
It ended well, and I didn't even tell anyone about you.
And what did they say to you? About the murderer and the body?
What do you think? They were shocked. And Thaddeus still tried to weasel out of it, but it didn't work.
That's good, the dirty swine.
Then he tried to blame everything on Mandalina, but that didn't help him. If not for him, none of those girls would be dead.
So? They're gonna break him on the wheel?
He'd certainly deserve it. But I think they're more likely to hang him quietly, to keep people from talking about how a murderer was running around and nobody noticed.
Yes, it's true. If they had tried more, then maybe...
But he'll be dead, and we'll finally have some peace and quiet. For which I am terribly glad.
And what will you do now? Will you go back to the town hall, Lumir?
It's true I've made amends in the eyes of the law, but I probably won't go back now. Maybe better to write something about it. Who knows?
Won't you go back to drinking?
No, it didn't help anything, did it? If I had just persevered instead, I should have pitied those girls, and not myself.
Don't fret. It was a terrible mess, and all three of us had to put our heads together.
Yes. You helped me when I was in need, and didn't even know it. Maybe I'll just keep helping as long as I can.
Helping others is the best thing a person can do in this world.
And what will you do, Catherine? Will you stay here?
My work isn't done yet. I have to work in the tavern here, and then we'll see. Maybe I'll find work elsewhere.
Do you think we could have done better?
Everything can always be done better. The most important is to do it well and quickly.
Catherine is right. I'll still be kicking myself. Maybe to my dying day. But none of us did anything bad.
That's not entirely true.
I'm talking about innocent people. No more girls died because of you. And that's good.
Well, let's go our separate ways.
Thank you, lad. You prevented future murders. And you also saved me. And for that, I will be eternally grateful.
I thank you both. Without you, the devil knows how it would have turned out.
Here you are, as a keepsake. And perhaps as a reward. And if you ever pass by, look us up.
Yes, here is a reward, Henry. And Lumir, we shall certainly meet again.
Okay, so that is where we're going to end it for this episode. We managed to solve a series of murders and allowed Catherine to get revenge on the killer. Now, I don't think it would have mattered if I had actually told her not to do it. I think she was pretty much hell-bent on actually achieving her goal there. So I don't think it really would have made a difference. It's one of those choices that really didn't actually feel like a choice, but either way, we will continue in the next episode. So as always, I thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.